Hello and welcome to Paydirt TV. I'm Michael Washbourne and today we're joined by Poseidon Nickel Managing Director Peter Harold. Peter, thanks for joining us.
Thanks, Michael.
There's been plenty happening on site in the last few months. Can you tell us a little about what you've been up to and what you're working towards?
Yeah, well, the primary focus has been Golden Swan. So we put in that drive, the drill drive, and that was finished in about April. And then we had 2 rigs in there. Web Drill have been drilling for us, 2 underground rigs, and we've been doing about 13,000 metres of drilling with the 2 rigs. And we've just actually got up to 13,000. We're going to do a couple thousand more, probably end up doing about 15,000. Basically drilling out the resource so that we can put out a maiden JORC resource sometime during this quarter. And that's the primary focus, and then obviously once we've done that, we can then carry on with the project development work.
And what is the most exciting thing about the drill core that you're seeing come out of Golden Swan at the moment?
Yeah, well, the most exciting thing is the grade. This is going to be a high-grade ore body. I think anything above sort of 5% everyone gets pretty excited about, and we've had some hits up to 12-15% nickel. So yeah, it's certainly a high-grade ore body, and that bodes well for the resource, and then obviously converting it into a mining reserve and hopefully getting it mining sooner rather than later.
Yeah, and as you mentioned, all the drilling that you're doing at the moment is working towards that maiden resource, which will hopefully be out before the end of the September quarter. What are the next steps though beyond that milestone?
Okay, so look, obviously there's the ore resource and then the reserve or mining inventory, and then the other thing obviously is what are we going to do with the material? There's 2 options. We can either sell it as a direct shipping ore of DSO, and obviously the natural buyer for that would be BHP, and they could either take it up to Leinster or down to Kambalda, which will be going again next year with the Mincor material. They're restarting the concentrator there. So there's 2 good options there. Or there's the option around us restarting one of our processing plants at Black Swan. And as you'll recall, there's actually 3 circuits there. And there's the original old Silver Swan circuit, which I was involved with when it was first discovered back in 1995, and we commissioned that in 97. And that plant can do 150,000 tonnes, and we're just getting GRs to have a look at a refurb cost for that, and what it would actually cost us to operate that. So we'll have obviously we're talking to BHP, and hopefully they'll give us terms for shipping ore to them, and that'll have a treatment charge and a payability factor. And similarly, we'll have our own internal numbers for putting it through our own plant, what the cost of that is, what the processing cost is, or what the refurb cost is, what the dollar per tonne cost is, what the shipping cost would be to Esperance or Fremantle, and then shipping it overseas to a customer, or obviously into BHP smelter Nickel West at Kalgoorlie. So a lot of options there, and a lot of it's going to get down to the differential in payability between direct shipping ore and concentrate, because obviously concentrate now is demanding a pretty big premium from where it was previously. So yeah, there's a lot of work to be done there. And obviously we've got Silver Swan, there's a resource there and a reserve there. So the combination of Golden Swan, Silver Swan should certainly be, we hope, enough material to have the option of either shipping the material to BHP Nickel West or putting it through our own concentrator. So that's quite exciting. And all that work's going to be done hopefully by the end of the year. So we're hoping to be at a point where by Christmas time we've got the ability to make a decision to proceed, and that would see us into production, either shipping ore to BHP next year, or putting ore through our own concentrator and shipping concentrate out.
And Peter, if you do make the decision to go down the Black Swan processing route, obviously that project has not been operational for the best part of 12 years.
Yes.
Sort of what works are there that you can leverage off to get the project back up and running?
Yeah. Well, look, it was a well-built plant, and I was around when we built it, and in those days it was built by GRs, which was the precursor, or JRs, which is the precursor to GR engineering. So same people are around, still inside the GR system, so they know the plant pretty well. And they've already had a look over it, and it's in very good condition, even though it hasn't been operated for a number of years. As you said, it's still been well looked after, well maintained, so it's not going to be a huge cost to get it going again. You've got all the infrastructure, you've got the tailings dam, all the water system, the village, well, not the camp, but the actually infrastructure for the offices and all the other infrastructure there. It's all there. So, once GR's finished the scoping study, which is pretty soon, we'll have a really good idea of what the time frame is from, when we actually press the button to refurb that concentrate, if that's what we decide to do. and all of those things are just going to truncate that project, versus having to go out and do a greenfields development.
And obviously the focus is on Golden Swan right at the moment, but you have unearthed what looks to be potentially equally exciting and prospective opportunity at Southern Terrace. So tell us a little about what you're doing there and why you do like the opportunity that's at Southern Terrace.
Yeah, well look, I mean, Peter McChelly, who's our non-exec director and a very experienced nickel sulphide explorer and discoverer, he rates it as being, what he calls the Peppermint Grove address for exploration. So, realistically, there's a huge opportunity. There is only 300 metres away from the Silver Swan channel, so all the infrastructure that was used to mine Silver Swan is in place, the decline and all of that. So that's great. We've been able to drive across to Golden Swan. There's a 300 metre sort of strike, if you like, that's very untested, both up and down plunge from Golden Swan. So if it's another mineralised channel system, then there's the potential for similar sort of tonnages as what came out of Silver Swan, and so that's why it's so prospective. So it's close by to all that existing infrastructure underground. You could access it from the existing decline. You've got a processing plant on the surface, so if you can find some more material, it's just going to be very, very easy to get it into, to actually extract that ore. So that makes it really attractive. It's underexplored, and there's very few drill holes in it. So what we're going to do, once we finish the drilling from Golden Swan, we're going to probably go back up to Gosling, which is higher up, and drill some holes from there back down, platform EM holes, looking for more EM plates that we can drill. We can probably go back up to the surface and find a couple of holes there and drill those and extend them, clean them out, and then extend them further down, further deeper, into areas that haven't been explored before. So yeah, huge opportunity. And if it is another parallel channel system like these komatiites tend to be, then it opens up a whole new area for potential exploration and further resource.
And Pete, the Poseidon name has been around for quite a number of years, as we all know. What was it going to mean to the shareholders of the company to finally see the company back in production, hopefully this time next year? Yeah,
well, look, it's going to be amazing. I think there's been a lot of false starts. The previous management, all did a great job in buying, assets very cheaply. I mean, when you look at the three assets that we've got in the business, the Windara, which was the old Poseidon asset, Lake Johnson and Black Swan all were picked up very, very cheaply, for a couple of $1 million each. I mean, fantastic when you consider all of the infrastructure that's there and what we've discovered. So fantastic buys. Obviously they've tried to get those assets going again, but every time they did, the nickel price literally collapsed almost at the point where they were about to go. I think in the case of Lake Johnson, they actually got it going and had to shut it. So they've had a couple of false starts, which has not been their fault. It's all been, the function of the nickel price collapsing. We're in a very different nickel price environment previous to other cycles where it was always reliant on, the demand for nickel and stainless steel. Now we've got this whole new, electric vehicle phenomena, and that is coming. And we've seen the numbers. Nickel, 2.5 million tonnes of demand now. By 2050 going up to 9 million tonnes, and so it's a fourfold increase. That means nickel prices will have to stay higher for longer to get more of these projects on stream to meet that demand. So I think it bodes really well for shareholders. So you can see a segue through from where we are today with a $300 million market cap to a market cap multiple times of where we are. If we're producing and we're generating, free cash, which we would obviously do at these prices, and we're having exploration success on, say, Golden Swan, at Lake Johnson, even at Windara. I mean, wow, wouldn't that be fantastic? And the other thing too is once you're generating cash, you've got money to put back into the ground. You haven't got to keep going back to shareholders all the time raising money, which is what this company's had to do to keep going. But once you're in production, you've got, that, and you can pay dividends, and so it just creates then becomes a sustainable business, which is what we want to be. So, yeah, I mean, I think it'd be very exciting and something that I'm, very keen to, having done it once at Panoramic. I think we've got the asset base to do it again here at Poseidon.
Well, Pete, your passion for the nickel game and for what your next chapter that's going to unfold at Poseidon is very evident, and we look forward to following the journey over the next few months and into next year. Thanks again for joining us.
Yeah, thanks very much, Michael. Cheers.